Hello, God bless. It's me, Dick Jr. again. I'm coming to you today with Daniel chapter 7. This one is sort of lengthy, but I took a lot of references from it. And this chapter is just chock full of prophecies concerning Revelation and the end of times. And a lot of these references that I'm taking are to Revelation. So I'm going to go ahead and read through. I took 5 references out of this one. So this is going to be a little bit longer video. The first reference is to Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. That's chapter 24, verse 30 of Matthew. The next one is to Micah chapter 4, verse 7. That's chapter 4, verse 7 of Micah. The next one, Revelation chapter 13, 7. You might as well just leave it open no, because I think it bounces back and forth. But Revelation 13, 7, that's 13, 7 of Revelation. Then Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. That's chapter 12, verse 3 of Revelation. And also Revelation chapter 13, verses 5 and 6. So actually we're going to read chapter 13, verses 5, 6, and 7. You see what I mean? Revelation. So just keep those all together, and you can rewind it in case I confused you right there or whatever, and write them down. But yes. So I've already prayed and asked God to help me to speak to you today about this. This is what I'm going to read tomorrow at church, and at our actual church and congregation. I teach from the prophets or read from the prophets every Sunday. I don't know if I'd call myself a teacher, but I do read and I do share what God shares with me, as far as, because I read so much of the Bible that I have this thing where patterns of words. So like I'll read something and I'll remember, I read that way off, and then that's how I end up with these pencil marked references, and it has nothing to do with anything, but they usually apply because it's the exact same words God's using in another place in Scripture through another prophet or someone, you see what I mean? So, yeah. So anyway, I asked God to help me speak to you before I even came to the video, and I suggest anytime that you go into God's Word, that you also ask God to help you understand. And I say that He will, and I promise you He will, because it's His promise to us, not my promise to you. Okay, so I'm going to flip this back because I've been through this a couple times. I have been through the book of Daniel myself. I know this will be the 3rd trip through here in the past 12 months at least. The 3rd trip, but I have been through this book quite a few times because of the correlation between many of the things that happen here or are seen here by Daniel in this book, the whole book, and things that are talked about in Revelation and other places in the Bible that are so poignant to not just today but to the end of times. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading here, chapter 7, verse 1, and I'll probably pontificate quite a bit. This is going to probably be quite a video, so because I just don't know. But there's lots of things in here, and I'm going to read this at church, like I said, tomorrow. So, in the first year of Belshazzar, that's not Belshazzar. There's a sh. This is the king. This is going back a couple chapters in Daniel here. This is the son of Nebuchadnezzar. Sorry, drew on a blank there for a second, but yeah. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and vision in his mind as he lay on his bed. Then he wrote the dream down and related the following summary of it. Daniel said, I was looking in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea, and 4 great beasts were coming up from the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion. I circled that. The first beast is like a lion, and had wings of an eagle. I kept looking until its wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. A human mind was given to it. So this beast is not a beast, it's a man. Or men. Okay. And behold, another beast a second one resembling a bear. So now we've got a lion and a bear. And it was raised up on one side, and 3 ribs were in its mouth between its teeth. And thus they said to it, Arise, devour much meat. Okay. After this I kept looking, and behold, another one, like a leopard. So now we have a lion, a bear, and a leopard. Which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So now we have a beast. We have a beast with 4 heads. See what I mean? So then remember that part. After this I kept looking on in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrifying, and extremely strong. And it had large iron teeth, and it devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet. And it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. But this time we're going to go to Revelation 12:3. So there's a lot of references here to Revelation real quick. So 12:3. I don't want to tear my pages. 12:3. So Revelation 12:3 says, Then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 diadems. But the thing that I want you to hear here is the 10 horns. See? That's the correlation between the two. That was Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and the 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boasts. I underlined that. This is where we're going to go to Revelation chapter 13, verses 5 and 6. Okay? Revelation chapter 13, 5 and 6. There was given to him a mouth, speaking arrogant words and blasphemies, and authority to act for 42 months was given to him. And he opened his mouth in the blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, that is, those who dwell in heaven. But this is the beast from the sea in Revelation. Well, I am going to say something about the 42 months, okay? Here in a little while, that 42 months that was mentioned in verse 5. We'll just go back and continue reading, because it comes down here in verse 25 of chapter 7 of Daniel, and it talks about a time, times, and half a time. And I'll explain that to you as well when we get there. So let me get back to where we were. Revelation, okay. I kept looking until thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His vesture was like white snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was ablaze with flames. Its wheels were a burning fire. A river of fire was flowing and coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands were attending him, and myriads upon myriads were standing before him. The court sat, and the books were opened. This is a reference to Daniel chapter 12:1 here. That's what they say. Then and which is odd, because this is Daniel 7 and that's Daniel 12. So this 7th chapter of Daniel references something that he didn't even know yet. Then I kept looking because the sound of the boastful words which the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and his body was destroyed and given to the burning fire. That is the eventual end of Satan when he's cast into the fire, the lake of fire. That is Revelation 19:20, I believe. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was taken away, but an extension of life was granted to them for an appointed period of time. And that appointed period of time is a time, times, and half a time. I kept looking in the night vision, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, one like the Son of Man was coming. This is the vision of Jesus coming. But see, when Daniel wrote this, he didn't know who Jesus was. Jesus quotes this in Matthew 24, which is where we're going to go. So, behold, with the clouds of heaven, one like the Son of Man was coming, and he came up to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. So now, excuse me. So now we're going to go ahead and take a reference to Matthew chapter 20 and verse 30, or 24 and verse 30. And that says, and then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. This is the words of Jesus talking about his coming, okay? And it matches up with what Daniel is talking about in verse 7, in chapter 7 and verse 13. So now I'm going to go on to verse 14 of Daniel here. And to him was given dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and men of every language might serve him. And we just read Jesus talking about this as well. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which will not pass away, and his kingdom is one which will not be destroyed. Now we're going to go to Micah chapter 4, verse 7, which says, I will make the lame a remnant and the outcasts a strong nation, and the Lord will reign over them in Mount Zion from now on and forever. Okay? But what he just said right there is that in the end, the lame, the weak, and the outcasts, okay, are going to be a strong nation, and they're going to be the remnant, okay? So the biggest, the baddest, the best, the richest may not be the ones who are called. Could be the ones who are the lowest, the slowest, and the least, okay? So that's Micah chapter 4, verse 7, okay? As for me, Daniel, my spirit was distressed within me, and the visions in my head kept alarming me. I approached one of those who were standing by and began asking him the exact meaning of this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are 4 in number, are 4 kings who will rise from the earth. But the saints of the highest one will receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, for all ages to come. Then I desire to know the exact meaning of the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron and its claws of bronze, and which devoured, crushed, and trampled down the remainder with its feet. So this beast takes the other beasts down. And the meaning of the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horn which came up, and before which 3 of them fell, namely, that horn which had eyes and a mouth, uttering great boasts, and which was larger in appearance than its associates. I kept looking, and that horn was waging war with the saints and overpowering them. Revelation 11:7. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was passed in favor of the saints of the highest one, and the time arrived when the saints took possession of the kingdom. This, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was passed in favor of the saints. So this battle goes on. You see what I mean? Until the end, and there's saints here. You see where I'm at? This battle is happening. Yes. Thus he said, the 4th beast will be a 4th kingdom on earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms, and will devour the whole earth and tread it down and crush it. One kingdom takes over all the kingdoms. I have many theories about what this whole thing is, but I really don't want to talk about it too much because, prophecy is meant to be kept to yourself for the most part. You write it down like Daniel did, and then when it all comes true, or at least the parts that he has written down, because this stuff was way in the future. Thus he said, the fourth beast crush it. Okay, so verse 24. As for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings will arise, and another will arise after them, and he will be different from the previous ones and will subdue 3 kings. He will speak out against the Most High and wear down the saints of the Highest One, and he will intend to make alterations in times and in law. Then they will be given into his hands for a time, times, and half a time. A time, times, and half a time is 3.5 years. A time, 1 year. Times, that's 2 years. So a time plus times is 3. See where I'm at? And half a time, which is half a year. So that's 3.5 years. 1, 2, 3.5 years, which is 42 months, by the way. And I had mentioned before about the 42 months as I was reading that we would come back to the 42 months. This is where I'm coming back to it at the time times point. And the one thing that I do want to mention as I'm talking about this 3.5 years, and this is just a simple correlation, it has nothing to do with what I believe or who, or, you know, like I'm pointing a finger at the beast or whatever. I'm not. But, okay, the United States, we have a presidency, right? And we elect a president, and he serves for 4 years. But if you think about it, the outward and inward transition of that, you know, election year and then transition of office, because one man was elected and the last man, you see what I mean, and this stuff. So he really ends up only being a ruler for about 3.5 years, because it takes about that much for all these transitions and this campaigning and this, you see what I mean? So they only rule for 3.5 years. I'm just putting it out there as conjecture. It's not, doesn't mean the presidents or any president for that matter or any of that is a beast or horn, actually. But what I am going to say is that a presidency is about 3.5 years if the office is changed. Same president stays in, you don't lose that 6 months, you know, all of it. You lose some of it. But if the president is changed, and that doesn't mean the party has to change, it means the president has to change. And you have about 3.5. You know, if you went from one Democratic or one Republican president to the next Republican president, but they weren't the same Republican or Democratic president, you see what I mean? So then they have to switch over from one administration to another, even if the party remains the same. Has nothing to do with what I'm saying. I'm just kind of putting it out there so you understand that these things could talk about these very times that we live in if you learn some of the math to go with the days and the weeks and the years and what they're talking about here. Okay, so then verse 26, but the court will sit for judgment, and his dominion will be taken away and annihilated and destroyed forever. That's the end of it again, he's talking about. Then the sovereignty, the dominion, and the greatness of all the kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given to the peoples of the saints of the highest one. This kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion will serve and obey him. At this point, the revelation ended. I circled that. At this point, the revelation ended, because what was happening to him was a revelation. What happens to John later on was a revelation, okay? The similarity between these two books, between Revelation and Daniel, is huge, okay? And I'm just kind of pointing out that, you know, they continued. Not all these words were put down in the New Testament, okay? Many of them were put down in the Old Testament, and the apostles and Jesus spoke these words again. You see where I'm at? So anyway, at this point, the revelation ended. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts were greatly alarming me, and my face grew pale, but I kept the matter to myself. And so Daniel didn't just run out and tell everybody what he saw in these visions. I think I forgot to take this here. I got onto that 3.5 year thing here at Revelation, or at verse 25. But there's a reference to Revelation where it says, he will speak out against the Most High and wear down the saints of the highest one, and he will intend to make alterations in the times and in the law. Which, anyway, just follow me here. If people start to try to lengthen offices or change laws concerning governments or whatever, Yeah, just watch for these days, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take that reference to Revelation 13:7. We already did 5 and 6. So 7 says, "It was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation was given to him." That is a small h him. It's talking about the beast, or the horn on the beast. I'm sorry, because it's a kingdom. But the horn, this particular horn on the beast. From the vision to Daniel I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not talking about here, but it says that it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. So if we're already taken out before this happens, this is just me, I'm not trying to be mean or trying to cause any controversies or whatever, there would be no war and we would not be overcome. Because once we come and he establishes his kingdom, it's forever. So this is not that. You see what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind as we go on throughout the Bible. But, the days are here. I just say that much. All right, so that's Daniel chapter 7. That's all I really have wrote down for this chapter. And thanks for letting me read through with you guys. And that'll just help me out that much more tomorrow morning when I read through this. I've already got all these references that I want to take marked out. And I've kind of already talked about a lot of things I want to talk about. Hopefully I'll remember tomorrow, Lord willing, or God will place some other things upon me that I need to speak about, possibly, or, but just thanks for listening, and God bless.